invaded that country and so on. You want to know what went behind, what went into their thought process. Why did they do this? So that mistakes should not be repeated. Okay? It shows their weaknesses and their strengths as real people. So biographies are important because we tend to look at important people as flawless. But no person is flawless. Even the most important people whom we read about, whether it's John F. Kennedy or anybody important, they all have flaws. They all have weaknesses. But when we read about them in our school textbook, it's as if they were perfect people. Okay? It's not true. So for reading for teens, they read about real people, more about the people, and the world beyond from where they grew up. So the teenage time is when they blossom, is when they realize that there's a world of opportunity outside their little school. So whether you are in a rural school or remote school or urban school, it exposes them to the whole world. And it tells them there's a world outside your village. There's a world outside Bangkok. There's a world outside your little town. Okay? And therefore, for teens who have a lot of issues and problems to deal with, human problems to deal with, books can give them ideas about how to solve their problems and see solutions in their own life. Reading can show that everyone has problems, and it can help them to resolve some of these problems and cope with their own angst, okay, their own feeling of why are people doing this to me, okay? Why is my mother telling me to study, study, study? Why is my father telling me to do this? Why are they always bothering me? They're all full of teenage angst, and reading gives them an avenue out. And of course, along the way, they'll pick up some romance novels and some sex education along the way. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure, because I've never read these books. So today, you are a reader, and if you read well, tomorrow you are a leader. Reading makes you a future leader. There's no leader in the world, or rather I should say, there's no good, thoughtful leader of the world who has not been an avid reader. Maybe there are leaders who have not read, but I don't think that they can be very thoughtful or well-informed leaders. Now I come to the next stage. These are homemakers and people in the rural areas, rural folk. Why is it important for homemakers to know how to read? Isn't it enough for me to send my child to school? Let them pick up reading. Why do I need to know reading? No, it's very important. Even if you're in a rural place, you must know how to read. You must be able to follow what's in the daily announcements. I need to know how to read to follow my child's progress in school. If I'm not able to follow my child in school, then I won't be able to help my child in the work. I won't be able to go and talk to the teacher about the child. If my child is not doing well, I won't be able to have a good conversation with the teacher, or even with my own child. Okay? I will be able to read newspapers. I will be able to improve my general knowledge of what's going on. Maybe I can read prices, my commodity prices. I will be better informed about what is the correct price for what I'm growing, whether it's wheat or bananas or coconuts or durians. I will be able to know what is the price. I will be able to read my contract. You know, everybody has a mobile phone. Everybody has to sign a contract. If you can't read that, then you are signing something, you are liable to be cheated. And rural folk especially can be hoodwinked if they are ignorant, if they are not able to read and establish their own rights. They can access health information, nutritional information, so they don't eat the wrong stuff or cook the wrong stuff. Okay? And they can upgrade themselves. Because once you read, remember, you have the independence to upgrade and learn new things. So they can pick up new skills about farming. They can pick up new skills about supply chain. How do I get my crops to the market cheaper, faster, better, with less wastage? All these are important to the livelihood of the rural folk. And I can get access to all this if I can read. Because if I can't read, I will be dependent on someone else to tell me. And then if I'm going to be dependent forever, that is not the right way to run my business. So I can now access the internet, other technologies. It enhances my own self-confidence and my self-esteem. So if a housewife or a homemaker can read, I become more confident about my own abilities. Okay? My sense of who I am, my self-worth will improve. Okay, now let's move from homemakers to professional and working adults. Now, a recent survey in the US has shown that 42% of college grads will never read another book after graduation. Isn't that amazing? So they think that they've done, I've got my college diploma or my college degree, I don't need to read anything more anymore. What age is that? 25? I'm going to live till 80. I'm going to live till 85. I have another 60 years of my life and I don't read another book anymore. I only read magazines and gossip columns and internet stuff. Is that going to be your lifelong learning? Is that going to be your lifelong learning? I don't think so. Okay? Even if they read, even if those 58% who read, what do they read? They read do-it-yourself books. How to become a better manager, how to make a profit, how to motivate myself, etc. All these motivational books that you see in the bookshop. Okay? Plus, of course, they read what's called best-selling fiction, romance, thrillers, and so on. These are the 58%. So what have we lost? We have lost the cultural heritage because we do not read about literature. We don't read the classics. We don't read about intellectual heritage. We don't read the deep stuff because mentally we have become lazy. We just want a quick relaxation. So literature now ends at school. It ends at school. And even in school, I noticed that only the good schools teach literature. The weaker schools have dropped literature from the curriculum. So professionals are the worst. Professionals are the worst because they've become not so hungry about reading now. They're just hungry for their career. But let me tell you many benefits that professionals can have. And you as teachers and librarians, please sell this to your professionals, to young professionals. It improves your job performance. It improves your job productivity. You do more with less. You can get promoted. It helps your career progress. Because when you read, you won't make the same mistakes as other people. And when you read creative fiction, it gives you more ideas and more thoughts. It gives you things, exposes you to ideas that you never have thought of on your own. It helps the mind to focus. Okay, you don't reinvent the wheel, you help the mind to focus. And therefore, with the knowledge and information that you have gathered, you can solve your problems at work. And when you solve your problems, your career can fly. Okay? It opens a door to the world and its issues, and as I said, it speeds up career progress. So, reading for professionals is basic to their progress. It's basic to their lifelong learning. It's critical if they want to go into a knowledge-based economy. If you want to go into a knowledge-based economy and you want to do a knowledge-based job, then the only way that you can keep on in that job is to upgrade yourself. If you don't upgrade yourself, how can you stay in a knowledge-based economy? You will end up in a routine, menial, repetitive job. But if you want to do new things, because the world is not standing still for you, okay? The world is moving faster than you can cope. The only way for you to catch up is to pick up on all the new technologies and new stuff that's going on around you. Okay? Because reading helps your cognitive brain. It helps you to connect your synapses. So from reading, you get many other skills. Communication. How important is communication for a professional? Nothing can be done without communication. If you cannot express your ideas at a meeting, if you cannot express your ideas to your superior, if you cannot express your thoughts to your subordinates, what are you? What are you? Nothing. You are your ideas. You are nothing but your ideas. Who are you? You are your thoughts. You are your thoughts. But unless you express your thoughts, who are you? How do you express them? With a good sense of vocabulary, with energy, with dynamic, with imagination, with stories, with creative thinking, with lateral reasoning. This is how you express yourself. Writing and innovation. If you don't have reading, you will lose all of that. You will lose all of that. You will become a shy, introverted person because you're not well informed. Okay? So, reading helps to develop your creative part of your brain. Those of us who are trained as engineers, we think only with half the brain. The other half comes from reading. Okay? It comes from reading. So, working people, especially professionals, teachers, librarians, whoever you are, don't think that you already know everything. You have to read broadly. You have to read across and jump into other disciplines. If you're an architect, you need to read outside architecture. If you're an engineer, you have to read outside engineering, because then you can deal with real-world situations. If you're an engineer, you cannot deal only with a box inside there called engineering. You have to deal with people. You have to deal with customers. You have to deal with a lot of clients. And therefore, reading outside in fiction gives you broadly what's happening in economics, in social science, in politics, etc. It helps you to figure out the best solution for your client. Okay? Managers. When you become a manager, you want to get things done. And you get things done through what? Through people, through your subordinates. And one technique that's being very common today is storytelling. You need to be able to tell a good story to convince people. It's a mode of communication for managers. It helps you to communicate your ideas and your concepts through a story. And this is quite easy. It's quite easy. If I tell you a story, you can grasp what I'm trying to say. Okay? So I asked the former head, well, when I asked him, he was the head of the civil service in Singapore. I said, Mr. Ho, do you read? Tell me what you read. Now, he was the head of the civil service. Now, I don't know what is the equivalent in Thailand, but he is the entire top of the whole of the public service and civil service. He's the chief cabinet officer, like the top of the pile. And he said, reading is a joy. I read not because I have to, but because I want to. I read voraciously. Fiction, non-fiction, books, magazines. Books open up your mind. Fiction excites your imagination. Non-fiction makes you think. This is what he wrote to me. I asked him, Mr. Ho, do you read? What do you read? The simple. So you can see the words that he's using. Where is he getting these words? Where is he getting these dynamic words? Voraciously. Excites. If he's not a reader, he won't be using these nice words. He won't have that vocabulary. Okay? So what is a good book for adults? Okay? I think science, philosophy, fiction, and not pot-boiler fiction, not romance, please, serious fiction, history, biographies, and poetry. I think if you want to choose a book to read tomorrow, choose one of these. Choose poetry. If you are not used to poetry like engineers and architects who deal with mathematics and logic, poetry is a wonderful way out of that box because we are trapped by our education. But poetry gives you the rhythm and rhyme of language and words. Biographies helps us to recognize the greatness of humanity, great events and leaders. How did they think? What did they do? They may have had a good public life, but how did they do in their private life? Yeah? They may have a very bad private life, but we only know the public life. Yeah? And sometimes all of these truths will come out only after they die. For example, I recently read the biography of Steve Jobs. We all know Steve Jobs as a great inventor, businessman, and IT guy. But you know, his way of managing people is atrocious. Atrocious. He will shout and scream and insult everybody in his office. That's how he got the best out of them. Okay? Well, you try that and see whether it works for you. So reading for adults, reading fiction helps us to become more creative, imaginative. It opens up a world outside where we live. It opens up a world that's beyond our own borders, because fiction is imagination of somebody else. Somebody has written a story. You are now participating in that story. You are identifying yourself with a character or characters. Imagine that. You're not in where you are. You are in some overseas land, in some context. Maybe if it is science fiction, you are on the moon, you're on a planet, you're on a spaceship. How can you be on a spaceship, right? Only a book can get you on a spaceship. So it allows us to reflect and relate our own experiences and environment to the people around us. Okay? And reading relieves stress. Every time that you feel stressful, pick up a short story. Research has shown from the University of Sussex that reading can reduce stress by up to 68%, as compared to listening to music, which is 61%, having a cup of tea, cha, 54%, taking a walk, 42%, and video games, only 21%. So of all the ways of relaxing, reading has the highest sharp drop in stress levels. Why? How does it work? Well, here's how it works. This is the person who conducted the research, Dr. David Lewis, cognitive neurophysicist, psychologist at the University of Sussex. Because he says, we are all, when we are stressed, we want to escape, right? We want to escape our stress. We want to go somewhere where there's no stress.